Warning. I chain smoke and I say fuck a lot. But I accept myself for the way I am. I accept you too. Viewer discretion advised.
The Catholic vote is gonna be heading on out today. The Catholic vote. Time to throw all of your cares away. Get some hot Christian action that'll take you.
Catholic Church sexual abuse cases. Cases of child sexual abuse by Catholic priests, nuns, and members of the religious order and subsequent cover-ups in the 20th and 21st centuries have led to numerous allegations, investigations, trials, and convictions. The abused include boys and girls, some as young as 3 years old, with the majority between the ages of 11 and 14. The accusations began to receive isolated, sporadic publicity in the late 1980s. Many of these involved cases in which a figure was accused of abuse for decades. Cases have also been brought against members of the Catholic hierarchy who covered up sex abuse allegations and moved abusive priests to other parishes where abuse continued. So it's pretty prevalent.
A secret Vatican document, some 41 years old, has been revealed, and that it instructed members of the church from the highest level down to consider allegations of sexual abuse by priests as the strictest secret. While it's still not clear how influential this document really was, some were saying it makes it very difficult for the Vatican to separate itself from the secretive policies of individual archdioceses.
Thousands of pages were released yesterday naming priests, some in Fond du Lac and Sheboygan, accused of molesting young boys.
And these documents include a letter and deposition testimony from Cardinal and Archbishop of New York, Timothy Dolan.
Cardinal Tim Dolan, who paid predators $20,000 to make them go away. Whoever said the money changers can't work for you?
Phil Salviano founded the New England chapter of SNAP, the Survivors Network for those abused by priests. In 1992, he went public with allegations that he was abused by a priest. He settled out of court. That priest was later sent to prison for 275 years in subsequent cases. Salviano joins us tonight from Watertown, Massachusetts. Phil, thanks very much for being with us. What do you make of this document? Some are saying it's a smoking gun. Do you think that's true?
Well, I think it lays out the plan that the Vatican had. It's almost as if it's a textbook that all the bishops were taking their lessons from.
SNAP spokesman Peter Isley says minutes from a 2003 meeting of the Archdiocese Financial Council revealed pedophile priests were to be paid $20,000 each to quietly leave the priesthood under a process called laicization. And Isley says then Archbishop Timothy Dolan knew about it.
We now know that it was planned and that it was deliberate and that it was orchestrated, apparently, by Archbishop Dolan,
who, during his time as Archbishop of Milwaukee from 2002 to 2009, appealed to the Vatican on a number of occasions to help address the ongoing fallout from the child sex abuse scandal. And there's 6,000 pages of documents related to 8 decades of abuse cases, and it shows in great detail that Milwaukee Archdiocese regularly reassigned priests who were accused of sexual molestation to new parishes, and Dolan himself is on the record asking the Vatican permission to transfer $57 million into a trust fund to protect itself against court action.
Dean of the Cardinals, Angelo the Clam Sedano, excels at the dark art of the pedophile cover-up and has swept some of the evilest abusers under Vatican vestments.
As we've learned in the last 18 months, in diocese after diocese, not only across the United States, but in many other parts of the world, bishops had a plan whereby victims were silenced, pedophile priests were protected, and none of this was ever reported to civil authorities or revealed to the general public.
Mahoney, the shuffler, arrived at the conclave fresh off a deposition delving into his past crimes of hiding child rapists in various states and countries.
Dolan has been involved in a number of these documents. There's one particular case where Reverend Raymond Adamski received counseling and was transferred to 11 parishes in 34 years, a known serial child sex offender, before being sent to serve as a nursing home chaplain with some restrictions on contact with minors. Again, this is all internal stuff. This is all being handled internally. These individuals are being shielded. Adamski in particular accused of molestation in 1961 and then again in 1983. And this is just common. There's so many documents we could do an hour.
The fucked up thing is this isn't really like a big secret. This is like it's like a joke everybody knows about. That's why you see it in pop culture and cartoons and stuff. Everybody knows about the pedophile priests and the altar boys.
Is the Pope Catholic and making the world safe for pedophiles?
If everybody knows about it, why does it keep going on?
Archdiocese spokeswoman Julie Wolf confirmed payments to abusive priests, saying it was the faster and less expensive option. She told me the hope was that these priests would get some help, saying as a church, quote, "We do not turn our back on the sinner."
Some priests were paid money to start the process known as, I believe that it's pronounced laicization, where you're basically stripped of your powers and duties, paid $10,000 to start the process, $10,000 during the process, and sometimes over $1,000 a month for health and dental insurance.
You do not give a bonus check to a man who raped children as a priest. That is not what you do.
German Cardinal Ratzinger is the one, and people won't notice he helped keep crimes hidden too. Oops, he's already been Pope.
Even before he was elected and became Pope Benedict XVI, Joseph Ratzinger faced a scandal unlike any the Roman Catholic Church had ever endured, reaching around the world and into the heart of the Church itself. Sex crimes against Catholic children committed by the Church's own ordained priests, overlooked or even enabled by figures in the Church hierarchy. Victims brought criminal charges against priests, and they brought a complaint for crimes against humanity in the International Criminal Court against Pope Benedict himself. And allegations kept emerging, at least one raising questions about the Pope's own judgment in a case close to home. One accusation is that while serving as the Archbishop of Munich, he allowed a priest with a history of abuse to be reassigned to a parish where he went on to harm more children. The Archdiocese of Munich had initially placed full responsibility on Ratzinger's deputy.
There's a lot of secrecy within the Vatican. For example, if you look at this document, it's filled with terms like secret archives and perpetual silence and destroying evidence, secret of the Holy Office. I'm just tremendously relieved that finally the document is surfaced and it's being given the attention that it warrants.
Tonight, Milwaukee Archbishop Jerome Listecki is defending his predecessor, Cardinal Dolan, saying he believes releasing the secret documents will restore the church's credibility and help them to move forward.
I would say to those who are outside, we're a different church today than we were 50 years ago.
We had to go meet with this counselor lady, and she asked us if the priests ever put anything in our butts. In your butts? Yeah, isn't that the damnedest thing? Why would he put anything in your butts? We don't know her. That's what we're trying to figure out.
Hello there, children.
Chef, what would a priest want to stick up my butt?
Goodbye.
In the past 4 years, more than 180 people have come forward claiming they were sexually abused by priests in this area over the past 60 years. 66, more than one-third, reported they were molested by former priest Patrick O'Donnell. Tonight, for the first time, he confesses to his sins and offers an apology to everyone.
Yeah, Patrick O'Donnell has been able to avoid reporters' questions for more than 20 years. But now O'Donnell has been forced to answer questions from the attorneys who are suing him. KXY4 has obtained more than 9 hours of videotaped depositions where O'Donnell frankly and unemotionally admits what he's done. We want to warn you, this story is not graphic, but it could be upsetting to some people.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
In a series of videotaped depositions, Patrick O'Donnell admits he preyed on young boys while serving as a priest in the Spokane Catholic Diocese.
Did you molest the two brothers on the same outing? Yes. But when did you molest the other boy?
I believe it was in the summer of 1974.
O'Donnell confesses there were so many boys, he has trouble remembering them all.
During the period 1972 until you left in 1976, approximately how many teenage boys did you have sexual contact with?
I don't know.
Can you give us an order of magnitude, like more than 10?
Yes.
More than 20?
I went through all of this in previous testimony, and I think that I said everybody, but I don't remember ever doing a count, but I'm sure it was more than 20.
O'Donnell says he fought his desire to molest boys, but he couldn't stop.
I was not interacting with most of these teenagers so that I could have sex with them at some point in the future.
What were you doing?
Trying to be a good leader and a good person most of the time, and then I would kind of fall.
Okay. Certainly touching 12, 13, 14-year-old boys on the penis or genitals wasn't being a good leader, was it?
No.
O'Donnell used his position as a priest to surround himself with teenage boys.
Wait a minute, is that Jim Carrey? Maybe not. I can't tell.
He admits molesting boys on camping and boating trips, and he would even bring boys into his bedroom at the church rectory.
Why were you giving a back rub to a boy with his underwear on?
We were sleeping, or in bed together. We were going to sleep that night.
How old was that kid at the time?
He was only about 12.
Okay, why were you sleeping in bed with a 12-year-old?
In those days, I didn't see that that was wrong.
O'Donnell says he would get dozens of boys naked at local lakes and a church swimming pool.
I know I took a lot of boys up to Mount St. Michael's where there was skinny dipping, and I didn't consider that sexual abuse, but I know that I did get involved in abusing some. One of them is Mr. Barber, who's here, and I'm very sorry that I ever hurt him.
Mr. Barber is Steve Barber. He was abused by O'Donnell for 14 months as a teenager.
I wanted to see him face to face.
Barber attended a November 14th, 2007 deposition, and he says he doesn't believe O'Donnell's apology is sincere.
I mean, if he were sorry, he would have quit. Because I was probably one of the first half dozen kids he abused, that we know of anyway. And then he went on to abuse who knows how many kids. So if he was truly remorseful about what he had done to me, I don't think that the other kids would have been abused.
O'Donnell abused more boys after Steve Barber. When there were complaints, the diocese moved O'Donnell to a new parish. No one ever called police, and O'Donnell was free to molest again.
You always knew it was wrong to sexually contact teenage boys, did you not?
Yes. In some level, I think I always knew that it was wrong.
Well, that wasn't even a close question in your mind, was it? You knew it was wrong, for example, to touch a teenage boy's genitals when you were a seminarian or a priest, correct?
Yes.
In 1986, the diocese sent O'Donnell over to Seattle for treatment, but he admits he never stopped preying on teenage boys and even continued when he returned to Spokane.
You told Bishop Welch about your history of sexual contact with teenage boys?
Yes.
After you told him that, did he tell you not to associate with teenage boys?
No.
Anything in particular that led you to stop having sexual contact with teenage boys in 1980?
I just had some sort of a realization. It just kind of hit me. Maybe just I finally realized when these parents complained that this was just really wrong and I needed to stop.
It took the kids' parents complaining about you raping their kids to realize it was wrong? Really?
At the end of his November deposition, O'Donnell finally offered his first public apology.
But I just want everybody to know I'm very sorry for my misbehavior, my bad actions, and for anything that hurt or might have hurt anybody. Victims, other people involved in any way. I feel very bad, and I'm sorry. I'm trying to live my life as best I can, and I'm trying to make my contacts with others something that helps them to become better people. But I'm very sorry for my actions of the past years.
Catholic kids are stupid. They don't know how to handle a pedophile priest. Here's what you do. First of all, you don't get all scared and do whatever he tells you. Who wants to get sucked off by a 43-year-old clergyman with beard stubble? not me. Instead, what you do is you kick him in the nuts. You kick him squarely in the nuts and you get the fuck out of there as fast as you can and you go tell somebody right away. You tell as many grown-up people as you can. One of them is bound to believe you. That's what you do. You don't wait 30 years. You kick the priest in the nuts and say, "Fuck you, Father, I don't do that shit."
Fucking stoned.
I got